Chronicles. Binford Chronicles is where you can openly express your views politically and spiritually. Our co host today is CJ with the Star Free Press located in Indian River County. And our guest today is Dale Richardson with the Karis Project and Kaysha. They're both from Canada and they're both with the Karis Project. And in today's time, we are in a battle of good versus evil. We see the signs all around us politically and spiritually. The Karis Project is designed to heal families, wrongful justice, vax injured, and J6ers, and much more. They're here today to tell us what their mission is. Richard, give us a little background. And first of all, let me thank you guys for coming on because you are doing something very honorable, and all of us patriots out there are trying to walk down that path of justice and glory and in the Lord's name because we need to reach out to people, and this is the best way we can do it. So, Richard, give us a little background on what led you down this road.
Actually, it's Dale. My last name's
Oh,
Richardson.
Dale.
That's all right.
Mhm.
My daughter is actually she's in Arizona. I'm in Canada.
Yeah.
I'm in Alberta. So she's been there for quite some time. Um, this started when I was in 2020 when I was looking at some dental clinics. I've got a background in mechanical engineering technology. I've got a bachelor degree as well. So I was looking to do the dental clinics, and I was looking at the guidance that they were giving us, and it was wrong, and it came from the CDC. So instead of mitigating disease, it was spreading it. That's a big problem. And so when I went to report it in early 2020, I started to get pushback. I started to ask more questions. I got more pushback. My daughter was with me. And then we just said this has to get dealt with because people can get killed.
Yeah.
And so we filed criminal complaints and so forth. And from there, it just got worse, really. And so I had to keep going with it, right?
So they started to retaliate.
Oh yes, they did. I I filed criminal complaints on July 3rd of 2020, and when you come forward with a delivery system for biological weapons that were basically for the bioweapons that they were handing over to the Chinese nationals at the Winnipeg biolab, that this delivery system came from the CDC, that's treason. Like, you're
Mm.
done, you're finished, you're over. Everything should have got shut down at that point. But instead, they didn't. They shut me out of the detachment and they stopped, wouldn't investigate. So I took them to court. My daughter, she exposed it at the hospital that she was working at, and they sacked her. The union threw her under the bus, and then we went into court on July 23rd, 2020, and we got arrested going inside of the court by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, who were actually defendants in one of the actions. And so, the judge, I found out later, and the court directed them to keep me out of the court the day before. And so they had a warrant for resist arrest on July 22nd for an arrest that took place on July 23rd, right? Like, that's like right out of the Minority Report.
Mm.
You can't do that, right? And so, I ended up getting strapped to a bed and drugged against my will. My daughter, she ended up getting taken to her workplace and, like, interrogated by all male police officers, and they threatened to take her to undisclosed locations if she didn't give them the information that they wanted. I got stripped of everything. Like, this was like Inquisition type tactics.
Wow.
And then that's the mounted
Mm-hmm.
regiment.
It's like a total violation.
Oh yeah, it was. Stripped of all rights. Right, I was tortured. Right, my daughter was tortured. Right, for coming forward and doing what's right. Because I was just like, my first thought is my kid could die, somebody's kid could die, somebody's loved one could die. Like, that's just nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a Christian, and my Bible says, "Thou shalt not kill." And if I see something that can harm somebody, I have an obligation to God to make sure that nobody gets hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I'm a parent, If somebody let my child die, they're not coming in my house. So why would you let God's children die and expect to go into His house? It's not going to fly.
Man.
I know. Kaysha, when was that moment you realized something was very wrong and painted that seed, it planted that seed in you to speak the truth, to get out there and be an advocate for the people, for we the people?
Yeah, so thank you again, guys, for bringing us on for sure. It's appreciated. And um, my name is Karis Richardson, and I'm American Indian, but like my dad said, I was born in Canada, and I actually worked for the government at the time in Saskatchewan when all this was going down, at a maximum security prison and hospital for the criminally and mentally insane. So I understood the tactics that they brought against people who were trying to do the right thing, and it was very clear to me the potential of what would happen. And I actually, when my dad sat me down and said, "Hey, this is what's going on," and I said, "Well, explain it to me," and he did, I was like, "All right, well, this is, I guess we got to do this to, protect people from getting sick and dying." And uh, but I said, "Hey, if we do this, man, this is what my work is going to do as a provincial governing body, because, I know they participate in wrong things, and I had been already filing complaints for the mistreatment that they were doing to people in the facilities, and, not following policies correctly, and violation of human rights and stuff." So I already knew what they were prepared to do to us, and when they grabbed us that day, it was no shock to me. But I thought to myself, okay, well, I might not come out of this because it's worse than I thought it was going to be, because they did it black ops style, where we were going to go into the court against them and the provincial governing body that I work for, Saskatchewan Health Authority, the RCMP, other people, and they just came and grabbed us before allowing us to even enter the court. And they were listed as defendants, and then they had all of those male officers, about 7 or 8 of them, rotating in and out of the room when they were interrogating me for like from 9 to 10 a.m. in the morning to 6 or 7 p.m. in the evening, and checked me under my clothes in front of men and all sorts of things, threatened to kill me. They said if I didn't give them the answers that they want, then they'll take me to undisclosed locations with criminals, and if bad things happen to me, they can't help me. All sorts of things. And I was like, wow, I just might not make it out of this. And then they took me to my workplace and held me there for 8 days in a small room, locked down for 23 hours a day. Didn't feed or clothe me properly, didn't hydrate me, wouldn't let me speak to anybody in my family. And I was like, well, this is it. But I asked them, can I just have a Bible? When they finally gave me a Bible, I read my Bible from sunup till sundown all day, and until I went to sleep, and just prayed consistently, until finally, by God's grace, they let me out. But I had come to find that my grandmother was filing numerous missing persons reports over and over again with the RCMP, and they had told her that they had tested me for COVID and let me go. And she was like, well, they said, but she should be fine. You should be hearing from her in a couple of days. And she was like, well, how would you know that? Then you kidnapped her. And they were like, no, we don't know where she is, but you're probably going to hear from her in a couple of days. Bye. And then I had called my granny, I think the next day or the day after that. That's when they had decided to finally let me go. And by that time, they had let me know that I had nothing. I didn't have a home to go to anymore because they had given it away, all of my belongings as well. My dad's corporate assets, both of our cars, my sister. And so I was homeless, and didn't have anywhere to go. And they ended up having this other guy come and pick me up, and he took me to the middle of nowhere and sexually assaulted me for weeks until while my dad was being drugged in the other facility uh, in Saskatchewan still. This other guy took me to like Alberta. And then when my dad got out, then I ended up going to the United States, on October 1st of 2020 because I'm an American Indian. So I'm sovereign, I guess, on both sides, or however you guys will say it. Native, for anyone who's a little confused for the wording. But when I went with all of the evidence of what was going on to Montana Sweetgrass Port of Entry on October 1st of 2020, the DHS border agents told me that if I don't go back, they're going to arrest me because they're not going to let me cross. I told them I can't because of what's going on. They arrested me, took all of my travel documents, including my Native American tribal documents, long and short form original birth certificates, passport, driver's license, and everything. They tried to destroy them, handed me over to ICE the next day, said I was undocumented, and then they drove me to Arizona Mexican border where they almost threw me across. But by God's grace, I tell everyone I didn't end up over across. They drove me backwards to Pahrump, Nevada, where I spent 7 months in an immigration slash military detention center where they contracted immigrants to stay in the military, the federal military prison. I assume because it was a little bit more money. Um, and I had to fight an asylum case, which is not, which as a Canadian and an American Indian, I would never get. So my dad was hounding the Canadian consulate in California, confirm her Indigenous status. They did. So on March 18th, 2021, they confirmed my Indigenous status to immigration. And on March 31st, 2021, they had let me go, but they didn't let me out on my own recognizance. They forced me to live with single American men who then trafficked me around the United States. They put me on full surveillance tracking system. I couldn't leave my house, city, or state without permission. I wasn't allowed to work without permission. They told me if I ever tried to leave the house of the person, I would be redetained and deported to a third world country. And this is in writing as well. They sent me these letters. Third world country I'd never been to before. Like
a third country.
a third country. Yeah.
Just a couple of things before you go ahead. When she came to the border, there was no way she should have ever been stopped. Like, she has the right of entry under, I think it's Section 3 or Article 3 of the J Treaty, and that was ratified in 1796. It actually gives Canadians and Americans the right to cross the border as well. They only give Indians the right. Like, there's not supposed to be any immigration for Canadians or Americans crossing either border. They should be able to both work and cross freely, just like Indians. If you read the J Treaty, that's the way it's worded, but they changed it quietly and just left it for the Indians, but then now they're violating everybody.
Mm-hmm.
This actually also helping the genocidal policies that Trudeau and Biden are enacting on the people, because now we can't run across to a different jurisdiction for safety if we were getting politically persecuted, which, I mean, would have been very great for a lot of people right now. But then they kidnapped her. I mean, like, they had her documentation and they just hid it. That's just straight traffic.
Wow.
Yeah.
That
and
just
then
makes my blood boil to hear your story. I mean, I don't even know how you're sitting here so calmly today telling us this story. That's very traumatizing. That's tyranny at
Jesus.
It is Jesus.
Abuse.
Yeah.
And little pretext. We did have started this interview about a year ago with Kaysha, and I had just met her, and I was like, it was sounding pretty fantastical to me, but and now looking at the state of Canada and what they're doing to their people, it fits right along with what's going on there. And then there's a lot of things that people that like you that don't want to talk about it, that haven't talked about it, they're scared to talk about it, about the repercussions or whatever. And I commend you for being courageous enough to talk about it.
Well, they basically want to destroy anybody who's going to voice up and make people aware of the tyranny that's going on. I mean, law enforcement is supposed to be there to protect us, your Constitution, our Constitution, but that's not what's happening.
Well, what ends up happening is they financially destroyed me right away.
Yeah.
And they continue to do that. Like, I mean, the government is like, I can call the police when people are committing crimes. No one will help you. No one helped Kaysha in the United States. In fact, the guy that sexually assaulted her, raped her here in Alberta, he's a dual citizen. He's walking free in Texas, and he raped her in South Carolina, and then when they had to head into Texas, she actually went to Volusia County in Florida to go and make a report and had a witness there with her. The Volusia County Sheriff's Department refused to send the body cam footage or give any interview notes or the other evidence through Interpol to Canada. So they couldn't do the investigation because they would have extradited the guy. His name is Robert Cannon. He's in Austin, Texas, walking free right now. So they're helping rapists to continue to walk away. And I mean, there's been people that were convicted pedophiles that people have been working with to try to throw her under the bus and continue to do all this filth. So you're watching like some of the worst people they're giving right to in order to suppress this. And the one thing that I'll tell you right now is they hate Christians more than anybody else.
Volusia's not the best county either. The issue is they're like a party town, and they're not looking out for people's interests. They don't want anything kind of riling up the tourists, and they're just, that's not right at all. You need a good local connection to a good area that's willing to do the right thing no matter what.
Well, our sheriffs are supposed to be the law of the land here in the United States. The sheriff is a constitutional representative of the people. We voted him in, and he's supposed to be able to say, hey, that's not constitutional. I'm not going to support that. I'm not going to enforce that law. He's here to protect us. But it's not happening in certain counties. And
now you have 6 counties in Florida now that have made a Constitution proclamation making themselves constitutional sanctuaries, where they've stated that no matter what happens during the election or whatever, they're going to follow the Constitution and keep people's constitutional rights. Now, these are good counties in Florida. Not all of them are good, but
right, and we need that to spread to the other counties,
Then those sheriffs will need my information, because I was actually talking to Sheriff Richard Mack about it.
That's who we're dealing with. We're gonna actually may have him try to get him down here to speak a little bit too. He's a great man.
Yeah, Richard Mack.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Yeah, we had him on our show.
Yeah, we need him to come to Indian River County.
Yeah, we're gonna get it. We're gonna get him.
You're in Indian River County?
Yeah.
Okay, I can get you some documents over there, and actually, we've been petitioning in states for redress of grievances. We did it here in Alberta because you guys have it protected under the First Amendment, right? When it comes from the Westminster parliamentary system, and it goes back, I took common law that goes back to 1640. In Canada and the United States are both under the Westminster parliamentary system, or had it started through there. And so we both have the petition for redress of grievances. Yours is articulating our Constitution. Ours just follows coming through the British common law. But it still grants the people the right to have their petitions heard. Now, the redress, we filed one here in Alberta. We did one in Michigan. That was last year, almost a year ago on the 9th. And so Gretchen Whitmer and Dana Nessel and the other woman, I can't even remember her name right now, but they've been suppressing this for almost a year so that they could continue to do all of this filth. Then we put one out. Ann Vander Steele and Maureen Steele put one out in Texas on the 4th of February, and then we had one, Kaysha and Ann and Maureen went down to Colorado and filed one in Colorado on April 9th of this year, and I did the one in Alberta on April 12th. And so they can easily do one in Florida, but anybody who wants the information can get that, because any sheriff can go ahead and get arrests. Like, I mean, if they're breaking the law, arrest them, because it shows how COVID was used. And the CDC, because they committed treason and they directed the states to shut down, every state that shut down was doing it on the backs of treason.
And everything And not only that, they refused to give any medical remedies like ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine. And they gave them remdesivir, which killed people.
Oh
Yeah,
yes, and
yeah. And Vandersteel's doing some great work. She's definitely one that's rallying the troops per se, and got to get behind her and what she's doing and all that.
Yeah, we
all right.
definitely need that information because our sheriff, like you said, CJ, he just said that we're going to be a sanctuary uh, constitutional county. So we need to get that paperwork to him and have him move it forward.
Yeah, yeah. Let's do that. Let's
Well,
do that. Definitely get that to us.
what you do is you get the people to move it for you. You can get him to go after them criminally, but the people can go ahead and take this to their state houses. And this is what we need to get the people to do, because this is how the people can go ahead and they can exercise their rights. Because now they can push at every single person. And so when it comes down to the elections and all these guys want to do this filthy elections, the sheriffs are like, either you're going to do it the constitutional way or they slap the cuffs and drag them away. Right? Anybody who comes in their county that doesn't want to follow the rules and follow the law, arrest them. Right? That's really it.
Yeah. I like the way that sounds. Definitely. Definitely. I like the way that sounds because somebody needs to start doing it.
Now, you
Oh yes.
guys, and are you still in Canada?
Oh yeah. I tried coming to the United States after they let her out, because they were coming after me, and so I showed up at the border, and I picked up my Canadian passport that was valid for 10 years, and they said that I was undocumented, and they were like, they knew we were coming. We were put on a list. Talked to a guy from
Yeah.
DHS. They took me to Colorado. I was like, I mean, I was deprived. Like, I had the same meal, like beans and potatoes, like for 4.5 months for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Like, I mean, they were threatening to throw me in the mental ward to get me drugged out of my mind, and all this intimidation, threatened me with federal prison to get rid of my passport for a travel document. I'm like, really? So what? You could send me to Mexico? No,
Yeah.
right? And so, I mean, I was getting tortured, and there are a lot of psychological, like, torture and so forth, and so forth, like terrible conditions. And then they gave me no due process and sent me back to Canada to put a 5-year bar on me. Wouldn't take the evidence. Like, I was getting threatened by everybody to, like, not bring in the evidence, and I was like, no. And then I brought the evidence in front of the immigration judge, and I'm like, yeah, this is treason. And he's like, well, I can't deal with it. I'm like, you're an American. Yes, you can.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so he didn't. Nobody showed up for DHS or anything like that, and then they just sent me back. So, yeah, working on getting that dealt with, because they should have never did that. I could have been a cartel member. You bring in evidence of treason, you take it, right? Like,
Yep.
you don't throw somebody out and say, "Oh no, sorry, you're going to just lose your country." That's
Mm-hmm.
nonsense, right?
Yep.
How's your feedback with grassroots people in Canada?
Canada is very much penetrated by the CCP. It's very bad. Like, the
Yep.
people, yes, but a lot of the leaders, they're bought and paid for by the CCP.
Yeah.
So are the people staying quiet? Are they joining? Are they joining in? Are they taking their chances too?
The people, like, I mean, the people, when I get to them, they're receptive, because the people are tired of this. They want answers. But then there's a lot of people that have been lying to them, and they've been going out of their way to separate me from people, and, like, people have been saying, like, all kinds of things, like, to say that, like, oh, he's a proven liar. I'm like, really? How so? I said, everything I'm saying is documented here, or whatever they can make up, right? And so forth. But people are beginning to realize what they're saying is nonsense, because now people are seeing what's happening to me and my daughter is happening to other people. And then they're just like, no, 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 you're lying. And now people are starting to wake up, because they're tired of it. They don't want this to happen. Like, I talked to some lawyers, they're like, yeah, we want arrests. But they know that if they go in there, the law societies or the bar will rip them to shreds, but I'm not a part of the bar. So I want to go ahead and go in and do private prosecutions, which I would do like the work of a DA, but I just have to pay for the cases myself. I could represent anybody in a criminal matter, so I can bring in every person that comes forward to bring their stuff to get it prosecuted criminally. And because the crown attorneys here, which are like the DAs, they are actually involved and they've done nothing to deal with this, so we can go ahead and shut them out and go ahead and get arrests, because I want arrests. I don't care about money. I want people right now to go to prison, right? Like, we need the bleeding to stop, right? So that people can heal. Because if we don't put them in jail, right, and arrest them, they're going to continue doing their nonsense, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true. I mean, we've got our J6ers that are still in prison unjustly, haven't had a court date, being treated like, like, I mean, they're put in cells just like that too. And it's a battle. And we've got a lot of grassroots people out there working for the J6ers, and we're still at it. We're still fighting at it. And we're running into that too with people and trying to change their mind, trying to get them to realize it. But with the elections that have come up, wouldn't you say, CJ, when they started really using lawfare against President Trump, trying to get him off the ballot in different states, a lot of people started waking up.
Yeah. So they're really they're using lawfare. They're really trying to do some fraudulent stuff with this election. I mean, you have Pinellas County. There was 219,000 votes, even in the primary of this year, that all came in on one day somehow in mail-ins in one county, and on a Sunday when the supervisor electors closed. So there's some activity out there, and then get this, now we got a hurricane hitting there a week or two after that. Just now nobody's talking about it. Now there's a hurricane that everybody can focus on, and a hurricane that now it's come up to Georgia, that at Georgia, and it has this lithium, the biggest lithium battery mine in the country, and then the hurricane just hits right over it. So now they've been trying to buy up that land for a while. Now they're going to try to buy that land in Georgia. There's no houses on it now, so they can buy it and get that lithium battery mine going. So it's a lot of forces.
A lot of forces out there.
And together against us. So
we've got to work together and try to battle them, because it's good versus evil. And we have to win. And the way to win is for us to communicate, help each other out, and get the word out where we can to support each other. And it's tough times right now because of the Bidenomics. It's killing everybody with this inflation. The J6ers still, they're targeting people like they did you. It's tough times. We have to be strong.
I just wanted to say quickly about the J6ers. I mean, what we're doing is very much tied to the J6ers, because if they shut this down, they would not have been able to have January 6th. We actually tried to file with the Supreme Court on December 4th of 2020 to get them to shut things down because of what they did, because they used COVID as the circumstances to implement the widespread election fraud, and then go ahead and then set up the January 6ers. So this comes as like before this. So everything that happened before, from the start of the COVID response and after, is all fair game. The human trafficking that ramped up because of that. All of the harms that were done, the people with the January 6ers, the vaccine injured. So everybody has a stake in this. And especially if you know anybody in Georgia, this needs to go into Georgia, because the CDC is based out of Georgia, right? This is where they're coming after Trump. CDC was tasked with making sure that the biological weapon would spread, and they were also to make sure that people got vaccinated for the stuff that Fauci and the NIH and DARPA and stuff were cooking up here with the Canadians and everybody else to go ahead and poison everybody. And so we want to get this into the hands of every person. This is what we're raising money for, is so that we can teach people to teach other people, because this knowledge belongs to the people. And they took this knowledge from people and dumbed them down so that they could take advantage of everybody. And that's nonsense. The Bible says people died for a lack of knowledge,
Yeah,
right?
that's right. And that's how you can control people. The less they know and understand, the easier it is to control them. That's what we have today with people that are on the wrong side of the aisle, is they don't know, and they don't do any research, and they just say, well, that's not true. And that's the ignorant. It's the people that aren't being educated, and we have to reach out to them and educate them.
Yeah, we found that it's as you get to like more the federal level, it's almost like both sides of the aisle, and there's just they just go completely corrupt as when they get federal. So we're focusing a lot on our local areas, right where we're at. And we're finding that you can try to make a difference right where you're at, and if everybody does that, then we will be in a much better place in all their areas. I know you're kind of in the belly of the beast over there in that side of the border, but you got Castro's son running your country there. That's what I've heard. That Trudeau's Castro's son. So yeah,
Oof,
Yeah,
that's tough.
pretty. Yeah, but what the good thing about here in Canada, we don't have a federal criminal court system. All the criminal court matters on the federal and provincial levels are all done within the provinces. So all you need is one province to get control. People get control of one province, and you can start the criminal investigations and yank them all back. And because they have good extradition treaties, you can start asking for people that were on both sides of the border, because they work together. Canada and the United States work together so much to help each other overthrow their countries. And this kind of filth needs to stop. And
Wow.
so, I mean, yeah, I mean, we need to stand up. Everybody's got to stand up. They got a convoy that came from Canada that went down to Washington. And they met up with a bunch of people for whatever they got going on down there. But we need the people to stand up locally and start going after the people, putting people on notice. We got an action plan. I mean, if anybody wants to get the petitions done, let me know. All we need is at least 3 people to sign on to that petition, and then just take it down in person, because I've got all the evidence, and put it together and just get people going, and then just notify everybody to start pushing at their state reps, their local reps, anybody who is involved, put them on notice and start harassing them. Give them the Trudeau treatment. Like wherever Trudeau walks out in public, people let him know what they think. They show up, and he's just got to go and run. Every one of the politicians that are not doing right, they need that same treatment. They need to understand that we're not going to take it, because your job is to protect our rights. You don't have any rights as a politician. You have a job description.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't want to protect the rights, then there's the door. So either you do it or you're out. And no constitution on planet Earth says they have the right to commit treason or murder. None. So that's it.
Yeah, the problem here is we need to figure out how to win this battle. And I really want to see that information that you have and see if it helps and see if we can support it, because we've got, CJ, we've got a big battle here. We've got the 3 branches of government, and 2 branches are totally corrupt, and the executive branch, which is the president, he's totally incapable of doing his job. And
yeah, and it's a big task when you look at it. I like how you have some solution based stuff there because I love the
yeah,
solution. We can sit here all day and night and just talk about the problems that are everywhere, and we need to be about the solution now. We
yeah,
have a couple weeks for some changes are probably going to happen. Either way, changes are going to happen,
mm-hmm.
and it's going to affect globally what's going on. So even so locally, I feel like we as are most effective, us personally. Um, But now I like to reach out to the more federal sort of level and see what we can do there. I mean, with Trump in, there's possibilities of people actually getting arrested. So that would be great, for all the crimes they've done.
We just have to
Well,
make sure he makes it there, because they've already tried assassinating him twice. So we've got to keep him safe and keep praying for him. Oh Lord, to bless President Trump.
Man.
I actually had a thread on X that showed the steps of what we did here in Alberta, because we started to do this earlier on in May, and we after we served the petitions, then we started to put the politicians on notice here on the provincial level. We call them MLAs, the members of the Legislative Assembly, and they were very uncomfortable. We gave it to the law enforcement, we gave it to the politicians, and then we served the premier's office, which is like the governor, and took that. And then within about a week or so, we had the party whip come down to come talk to us. And so if people start doing this, and we put it on film, we people live streamed it. You had like a bunch of guys sticking cameras in their faces as they gave the documents, and people knew what was going on because they were very uncomfortable. Because I just tell them like it was. This is what it is, and now you got to deal with it. And they have all these people live streaming, then they get outed. And more people see this, they're going to realize what is going on. And so then they came and they put the hammer down, and that's where they came back. And like, I mean, the feds sent in all their people and created more discord and disunion. But if more people start doing this, they cannot stop us all, and that's really what needs to be done. The more people will wake up, the more they see this happen, because they'll see the guys who are criminals, they'll get scared, and the guys who want to do something, they'll be happy. And then you go and support the guys that want to get it done, right?
Hallelujah. So,
Amen.
so how can people get in touch with you?
I mean, you can reach out to me at www.dsrkarisconsulting.com, and there's you'll see the Karis Project page and the Karis Project action plan there, where people can find these materials and so forth. I'm at DJS Richardson on X, True Social, Getter, yeah, and so they can reach you usually on X is probably the easiest, or on the Karis Project, or Kaysha's at Kaysha Rick on X, and she's on True Social as well. And so, I mean, those are the easiest ways to get us. They have an email that's up there for the Karis Project, unity at dsrkarisconsulting.com. Um, you can just find that there, or look for the Karis Project on any of the social medias and send us a message. We'll respond. I mean, anybody who wants this information, we'll gladly give it to you. We'll help you get with going with the petitions. Just have a couple of people sign, bring some evidence, take it in. Away you go, right? Get some cameras on it and just put up the information. We want to get as many people going so that we can go state to state and start pushing back on these, especially in the key battleground states. Those are important so that we can push back on the cheating, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Thank you guys so much for working so hard and coming out. It's not an easy thing to do, to have to discuss everything that happened to you guys, but it's important for people to know. Just like the J6ers and anybody else who's been victimized, like you guys have, for trying to tell the truth. And we need people like you, and we need to join you guys and fight and support and work for the betterment of America and this country and the world. Freedom, our God-given rights are at stake here.
Yeah, and then if the Spark Free Press can help you guys get the message out in any way, you let us know. I love this story. We might have to put something together and put an article together about this, because this is some serious issues here, and we need to get this information out to the public. They need to get those articles out there. So, yeah, appreciate everything you're doing. both of you
Yeah,
guys.
Thank you.
absolutely. I mean, we'll be in contact. I'll send you some information. I know some people. There's some people I believe in your county that
Good.
could probably use some help.
That's
And
Oh,
awesome.
it's a great county. I mean, we got all sorts of powerhouses out here. We're super active. You know, the conservative community out here, they're just people that love their country. You know, we're trying to do our part to kind of, you know, make other areas kind of like our area, you know, just kind of just do some of the things that we're doing. I mean, you know, and it's possible. We can take our country back. You know, it can be done.
Yeah.
It can be done.
Absolutely.
So can I leave you guys off with Romans 12:2?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay. Do not conform any longer to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. And may we go out into the world as warriors and patriots and reach out and save lives and save our own lives by changing the world so that it's more possible for us to keep our freedoms that God gave us.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you guys for coming on, and I'm looking forward to getting that information from you.
All right.
Thank you
for
for having us.
Thank you, Richardsons. Thank you very much.
So, guys, I'm offline now.